Evening, everyone, and welcome to The Next Revolution. We are pro-worker, pro-family, pro-community, and especially pro-America. Tonight, I want to focus on the biggest crisis facing America, not any of the ones Biden and the Democrats have created with their far-left extremist policies, the border crisis, the inflation crisis, the crime crisis. Of course, all those are deeply destructive, hurting Americans every single day. But there's a crisis underlying all of that and more. We talked about it last week, and it will be our extended focus tonight. We have a crisis of accountability in this country. In America's federal government today, whatever rules you break, whatever damage you do, whatever problems you cause, whoever you hate, hurt, harass, nothing ever happens. You can fail and fail and fail again, and you'll be rewarded, not punished. The pandemic, Afghanistan, energy, fentanyl, baby formula, of course, crime and the border and inflation. Now we're hearing they may not even be able to get their election bribes out the door in time because the education department is so incompetent. What's the common denominator? No one is ever held accountable. No one resigns. No one is fired. They just keep on trucking and keep on trucking it up. There's zero accountability because the establishment always looks after its own, protecting the ruling class while punishing anyone who dares challenge it. Tonight, across a range of the most egregious violations, we will lay out the accountability we demand. And we'll be joined by the one person in America best placed in the short term to deliver that accountability right now, Representative James Comer, likely to soon be chairman of the House Oversight Committee. We must end the culture of impunity that protects the establishment's crooks, clowns, and charlatans. Investigation, prosecution, impeachment, all of it must be on the table. Let's start with this man, Christopher Wray, director of the FBI. Put aside Wray's outrageous raid on a former president's home, which at best was a massively disproportionate and reckless escalation of a document dispute, and at worst was a political move designed to try and stop Donald Trump from being able to run for office again. That FBI scandal is still playing out. But when it comes to an even bigger one, there is now absolutely no doubt. We learned this week that the FBI approached Facebook in the middle of the 2020 election campaign and told them to expect an imminent dump of Russian disinformation. Soon after that, the New York Post began publishing stories based on information contained on Hunter Biden's laptop. Facebook's boss confirmed to Joe Rogan this week that the FBI's intervention was the reason Facebook censored the Post's story. Listen carefully to what Zuckerberg said when Rogan pressed him on that.
Did they specifically say you need to be on guard about that story?
No, I don't remember if it was that specifically, but it basically fit the pattern.
Oh, he doesn't remember. Well, let's make sure someone jogs his memory. Zuckerberg obviously needs to be put under oath to establish whether the FBI did specifically tell Facebook that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. Regardless, Zuckerberg confirmed that the FBI's intervention was the reason Facebook censored the information because, quote, it fit the pattern. But here's the crucial fact. The FBI knew the Biden laptop was not Russian disinformation because it had been in their possession for months. And it's not as if it was some anonymous piece of evidence sitting on an FBI shelf somewhere. The FBI knew exactly where it had come from, whose it was, and how explosive it could be, because we also learned this week from FBI whistleblowers that they were told not to investigate the laptop until after the 2020 election. Let's remember why it was so important for the voters to know what was on the laptop before the election. Not Hunter's sleazy sex and drug habits, but because the laptop included evidence that Joe Biden, the Democratic Party nominee for president, was head of a corrupt influence peddling operation involving a hostile foreign power while he was vice president. 2020 was a close election, decided by around 30,000 votes in 3 states. Who knows what difference the Biden corruption revelations would have made if they hadn't been censored by big tech and the media. And now we know that the FBI, the very government agency responsible for election security, was behind the censorship, either by directly telling Facebook the laptop was Russian disinformation or by standing by and saying nothing, publicly or privately, to Facebook, the other tech companies and the media. The censorship of the laptop and its contents was a huge story. The FBI knew it was wrong. They knew it wasn't Russian disinformation, but they did nothing. That is election interference. That is America's top law enforcement agency meddling in an election to protect a candidate credibly accused of corruption at the highest level with America's top global adversary, China. This is a monumental scandal. And it comes directly after another monumental FBI scandal, the attempt to overturn the 2016 presidential election through the Russia collusion hoax. And that came directly after another scandal, the FBI's handling of Hillary Clinton's emails, which Democrats see as election meddling too. So we've now had nearly a decade of the FBI improperly influencing our democracy. It is clearly a rogue agency, out of control, structurally politicized. When is anything going to be done about it? When are we going to see some accountability? Christopher Wray has done nothing, absolutely nothing, to clean house and restore confidence after the disastrous James Comey. In fact, unbelievably, he's made it worse. Did he know about the FBI's attempt to stop Trump and elect Biden? Did he authorize it? Did he direct it? At best, Christopher Wray is a bumbling establishment booby who's barely fit to run a bath, let alone the world's most powerful law enforcement agency, and so should obviously be fired. But at worst, he actively participated in the FBI's 2020 election interference operation, in which case he should not only be fired, but put on trial, because even if it's not a crime now, it bloody well should be.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.